Two people are arrested after a 7-year-old was shot in Harlem. Check it out and take a look.
A developing story. Two suspects are now facing attempted murder charges after police say a 7-year-old girl was shot by a stray bullet outside a Harlem Starbucks.
A frightening video recorded inside the coffee shop during the shooting shows customers, including children, scrambling to take cover. Elijah Westbrook is live in Harlem this morning. And Elijah, what are we learning about these suspects this morning?
Well, Chris and Mary, we just got some new information from the NYPD. They're telling us that two male suspects, a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old, as you mentioned, both being hit with attempted murder. We're also learning the 19-year-old is also being charged with 4 counts of criminal possession of a weapon. Of course, this after that 7-year-old girl was shot here at this intersection, 145th and Bradhurst Avenue, where there's also an active police investigation taking place really since yesterday afternoon. Watch as a mother and her young daughter duck for cover inside this Harlem Starbucks as gunshots ring out just outside. Investigators say it was in that moment when the suspects began firing at least 9 rounds at rival gang members on the corner. The 7-year-old girl who was on the sidewalk with her family was shot in the stomach. Video here shows the family devastated as first responders gave the child CPR before rushing her over to Harlem Hospital.
She was just in total shock looking down at her wound. He was saying that he wished it was him that was shot. He was like, I wish it was me. They could have killed me.
Pray for the quick recovery, and it's never a good thing when a child is a victim of a shooting. It's never a good thing when any innocent bystander is a victim.
Police say the girl is undergoing surgery at the hospital. She's in stable condition as we speak and is expected to survive. Now,
This is why when you take gun classes, in order to be a CPL holder, and obviously we know that the people that are firing weapons are not CPL holders and responsible gun owners, which is why we don't want the government to ever ban our guns, because then you would just leave the criminals with switches out here to go out here and terrorize the entire United States of America. But this is why when you take a CPL class, they train you, they talk about the importance of gun safety. They go over the fact that under no circumstances and as a last resort, you want to get into a gunfight, because ultimately it's usually the ones that are innocent bystanders that suffer. You going in there, get a Starbucks, next thing you know, your daughter is shot, 2-year-old, and now you got 2 people in custody over in Harlem. It's crazy. Anyways, in addition to that, Chicago. Now, you know, we're going to rededicate ourselves to Chicago and stay on top of that. Mayor Mohawk, look how ridiculous this looks. Look how ridiculous this picture is. Think about what y'all doing when y'all vote. Think about it. No, Chicago. Come here. You know, I've been having a lot of different people on here from Chicago tell us our stories and what happens. Chicago. Look at what we got here. Now, if this man, before we even get into the story about this property tax proposal hike that they having a lot of controversy over in Chicago, because the people is basically being ran out of their homes and out of their neighborhoods, and it's going to be gentrified. If you are a supervisor, or you work in corporate America, or you're in a C-suite, and you have this guy that comes in and he's interviewing for this position to ultimately be a face of the company. When you get into a certain level, you then become a representation of the company, and you become the face, one of the faces of the company. And this guy walks into the door, right? And this is what he looks like. Because communication is more than just what you say. It's also what you look like, body language, everything. Attitude. Are you hiring him for this position? Are you hiring this guy to represent you as a key stakeholder in NVIDIA? To run General Motors? To oversee AT&T?
In Chicago, budget hearings continue this week, but the issue that's top of mind for many aldermen is the mayor's proposed $300 million property tax hike.
It is such a big issue that many city leaders are calling for a special meeting to reject the increase, making room for alternative solutions. Sabrina Franza has been speaking to aldermen ahead of this meeting on Wednesday. Sabrina?
Jim, they'll get that meeting. This move could force the mayor's hand before things get too close to the budget deadline on December 31st, before the budget becomes take it or leave it. Now, even some of the mayor's most loyal supporters have said they'd reject a property tax of this magnitude.
Would you be a yes or a no vote in that case?
If there's a quorum, yes, if there's a quorum, I will be voting. As I said, I think that I will be voting to make sure that property taxes are not.
I would hate to be the alderman over in
Byron
Chicago
Sigcho Lopez.
now.
He's been against a property tax increase since it was proposed, though he did not sign this letter calling for a special meeting to reject the idea of a $300 million property tax hike altogether.
I don't believe in political theater. I always believe in not only making questions, but provide solutions.
So ordered.
One of those solutions, he says, to contribute less to the city's advanced pension fund. Meanwhile, in closed-door meetings, we're told Mayor Brandon Johnson, who ran his mayoral campaign promising not to raise property taxes, has been meeting with alders to figure out a solution.
That's a welcoming change. I think in the previous administrations, all we have seen is impositions and dictating terms.
Some have felt differently during this year's first budget hearings.
A bunch of members were throwing out ideas, and all we kept getting back as answers were, well, here's why that wouldn't work.
They'll need 26 members to show up to proceed, but 34 votes to suspend the rules before the rejection can go to a vote.
Folks you would imagine don't really agree ideologically are in agreement on this.
The meeting starts.
I always wonder, right? Because, yeah, we criticize the mayor, and the mayor's an idiot, and we know that. So shout out to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. We know that the people have been electing mayors and idiot mayors in Chicago for a while now. But they trying to correct that on the streets, all right? But then we also have to take into consideration the aldermen. And are y'all electing the right people? Look, it's over for these community activists. It's over for identity politics. It's over for the ones that's been in there for a long time. Y'all have to elect business leaders. Y'all have to elect people with great moral compasses, and you'll have to elect people that are truly a reflection of the people's interests, okay? Not somebody that you want in there that looks like you, not somebody that's in there that, you know, I can identify with. No, somebody that identifies with your best interests. Those are the type of people. Y'all got to start making a business decision. Every relationship is a business decision first, okay? And then last but not least, let's talk about Elon Musk. His wealth has jumped over $70 billion since Trump has become the president-elect. Check it out. What's up, Rihanna?
Shares of Tesla have jumped nearly 40% since President Trump's electoral victory last week. As of yesterday's close, those gains have lifted Elon Musk's net worth by about $70 billion to close to $320 billion. That's according to Forbes. That puts him ahead of Larry Ellison, who is now the world's second richest person, by nearly $90. That's $90 billion. Elon Musk is ahead of him by about $90 billion. There was a Bloomberg report talking about how hedge funds betting against Elon Musk had lost about $5.2 billion in paper losses since the election last week. Anybody who was shorting the stock obviously has gotten hurt pretty badly. Right now, shares of Tesla at $340.28.
Ron Barron's chortling somewhere. But we're back to Brewster's Millions.
How do you spend it quick enough?
You just can never.
I think that Elon Musk is eventually going to buy one of these larger networks. I don't know which one it would be. It'll probably be an opposing network to Fox. So I would imagine it would be an MSNBC, a CNN, something like that. When you get this type of money, okay, on a much smaller level, on a much smaller scale. When I mean small, I mean on a minuscule level. I would never, ever compare myself to Elon Musk or anything. You start playing, right? Once you get to a certain point in life, on a smaller level, let's say a smaller city like the city that I'm in, when you no longer worry about money and finances, you start changing lives. You start shaping society the way that you want to see it. So on a very microscopic level in my life, right? I want to, and my passion project has always been housing. So for example, making sure that people have sustainable housing, that they have places to live and whatever. And so on a microscopic level, when I build my houses, I build them with people in mind that ultimately is going to be there. And so, that determines how much lower I can get the price as far as what they're going to rent it for, how they can raise their kids in a better environment and all of that. And so on a very, 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 very small level, that's how you think. You no longer worry about, can I pay my car note this month, or am I going to be able to pay my house note? When you remove all those barriers, you start shaping things. You start making sure that your daughter and your son can go to certain schools and they get certain education and it's not a sacrifice or whatever. So when you get to a, $3, $4, $5, $600 billion net worth, you look at things in society and you start saying, I don't like the way that that's going. I'm going to change it. And if you remember when he wound up buying Twitter, which is now X, he executed on the fact that he didn't like the fact that they were running the company the way that they was running it. And even when it wasn't financially advantageous for him to buy it, and it was like, hey man, this company is $10 billion over valuation and they trying to fight you in order to make you sure you buy. He just woke up one night. I was reading about it. He said he woke up one night and was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do the deal. And now people are applauding him for changing the way in which social media is censoring people because we don't like censorship. And so I would say that a lot of these people need to tread very, very carefully. Very, very carefully. I remember when Elon Musk was pitching to Apple to buy Tesla. Now look at him. Crazy.
20 billion.
It's hard to even imagine.
That's why, what you do, you build a really nice house on Mars. I think. With a lot of land. You probably got.
I don't even think there's a house here.
You don't even need fences.
You're right, True American. Everybody that sold their Tesla stock over politics, and this is the thing that I was telling the people, because we went over a few industries that's booming. We went over a few industries inside of the stock club on the Patreon yesterday, and shout out to everybody that was in the Patreon that watched that live stream or rewatched that live stream. We got Block Club coming up next. And I was telling people, I said, listen, y'all, because some people was questioning some of the industries it's going to benefit. And I said, y'all have to remove your emotions to look at this objectively. I'm going to present you the information. You have to make a decision on what you're going to do with it. Now, it was a lot of people on, I'm selling my Tesla stock. I don't like you. Okay. All right. Profits over feelings. Profits over feelings. Okay, go ahead. You do what you got to do. I'm going to go ahead and get this money.